As you saw, I implemented caching in this app with very little effort. It took me less than 10 minutes to implement caching, right? Now, there is a common misconception that to add caching support to an app, we should use Redux. If you're not familiar with Redux, it's basically a state management library that often gets used in React and React Native apps. With Redux, we can store our entire application state inside an object that is available to any components in our app. You can think of it like a database for the front end. Now, Redux has a large ecosystem. There are a lot of plugins for Redux. For example, we have a library called Redux Persist that automatically persists the Redux store on the disk and rehydrates it when the app starts. So a lot of people use Redux to add caching and offline support to their apps. In fact, we have this guy over here. He loves Redux. He uses it for every single project. He cannot even think of a word without Redux. In fact, there are many guys like this out there. And in my opinion, that's a terrible thing that has happened in our front-end community. Because of this bad trend, we have a lot of apps that look like these buildings here. Look, I have nothing against Redux. In fact, I have a complete course on Redux. But there is a problem with Redux. It brings in so much complexity. Unfortunately, some people love this complexity because that's how they get their confidence and feel superior to others. I don't. I hate complexity. As Leonardo da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. In this app, we added caching support with very little code that I wrote in less than 10 minutes. Our code is pretty simple and self-explanatory, and we don't have many moving parts. We introduced only the cache module and then brought it in the API module. If I wanted to build this app with Redux, I would have to write a lot more code. Our code and applications architecture would be more complex, and we would have many moving parts. We would have actions, action types, reducers, middleware, thunk, Redux Persist, just to name a few. There's actually more. Do you think this is an elegant solution to the caching problem? I don't think so. Now this guy is back. He says, Mosh, your implementation of caching is crap. It has all these problems. And my response is, why don't you improve it and make it fit for your app? Then he says, but Redux also gives us undo and redo functionality. And that's when I ask, do you really need it? And then he argues, but with Redux, you know exactly where the state of your app is, and you can go back in time. Again, I ask, does it really matter for the app you're building? So he keeps going with but. These arguments can go forever. I don't really like to participate in them. Again, I have nothing against Redux. I have a complete course on it. I think Redux is great, but not for every app on the planet. You should only use Redux if you have a complex data flow in your app. If you have multiple screens sharing the same piece of data that can get changed in different ways, and all these screens and components should be in sync, then go for Redux. Otherwise, you shouldn't use Redux.